Hi, this is just a very brief update on the work trip. I'm a consciousness researcher, philosopher, and a psychologist. And as a consciousness researcher, I'm of course interested in altered states of consciousness. That means states of consciousness that are very different from this kind of waking consciousness. These kinds of states include dreaming, and for example trance, when you do for example drumming or dancing and get into a trance, although there is no clear commonly accepted definition of what a trance is. And this weird state between wakefulness and sleep, it is also an altered state of consciousness. And of course, a mystical experience is a transient altered state of consciousness. And also a psychedelic experience, which can also include a mystical experience or episode. So all of us have had altered states of consciousness, as in dreaming. But psychedelic states and mystical experiences that are brought about by them or included in these psychedelic experiences, they are a special and very interesting class of experiences because on the brain level, they are clearly different from ordinary consciousness. The default mode network, the neural correlate of the ego, is diminished, which subjectively is felt as this loss of self or ego death. And also the entropy in the brain processes, speaking like in information theoretical terms, entropy increases and the processes become more chaotic and unpredictable. And then you have subjective reports of psychedelic experiences. They are usually reported as being profound, ineffable, and among the most significant events in one's life. Majorities of subjects in these studies, they rank the psychedelic experience among top 5 most significant events in their lives. So it's really felt as important, and it can lead to radical changes in one's life, like diminishing of depressive symptoms, change in worldview, or becoming conscious of one's own ways of reacting or schemas, or one's own representation of who one is, who I am. So this work trip we are doing with a neuroscientist and another philosopher, we are doing a psychedelic work trip to explore these phenomena subjectively. And why we need to do this ourselves, like subjectively undergo the psychedelic experience, is because the psychedelic experience, like any other experience, happens in consciousness, and you cannot know it fully unless you personally undergo it. You can illustrate this by thinking of a person who is born blind, completely blind. Can they know what it's like to see just by reading neuroscience of vision or subjective descriptions of what it's like to see? does a blind person know what seeing is? I would say that in a sense they don't. They don't know what seeing as a conscious process is. And that is why I personally need to undergo the psychedelic experience myself to know what it is, because I'm doing research on it. What are the mechanisms, for example, how the mystical experience can heal a person, heal their depression or OCD, like obsessive compulsive disorder, or anxiety, or other similar symptoms, or increase their openness. There are studies that psychedelic experience increases openness. So that is the reason why I'm doing this psychedelic experience personally. And it will happen tomorrow. So I am curious and a bit scared. And another question that I want to address here, that I have been thinking about in this process: why are we doing it publicly? We will document our pre-discussion of the trip, and also the trip in some way. We have a journalist also present, and we will make a post discussion and this integrate the experience or try to conceptualize it. So why are we doing all this publicly? It was actually this morning that I realized the main reason I personally have for doing this publicly. It is because it's a taboo subject. For many, many people have these experiences. They are surprisingly common. And people who have had these experiences are afraid to express them because they fear they are stigmatized. So that is why I personally want to be completely open about this experiment. I want to do it completely publicly, because otherwise there would be this secrecy around it, and it would contribute to this psychological distress that also can make the experience less than optimal. It's like extra stuff to process in the experience, the taboo nature. So that's why I just shift it completely to the other direction and do it completely publicly. So I want to show that there is nothing to hide. Of course, I will not bring up any deeply personal issues, but simply that I am doing this kind of experience. I'm open about that and open to discuss it. So tomorrow it is. Wish me luck.